Hey Facebook family, welcome. It's Sergeant Dorsey Speaks live at 5. I apologize for being just a little bit tardy, but when you are the camera woman, the editor, the host, the guest, when you're all of that, it takes a moment to get it done, right? So I'm here. Hey Charles Harper, thanks for watching. I see you. And sir, if you would be so kind and help me get this on the other platforms, that would be great. So before I get into what I want to talk about today with you, I'm going to, spend a second or two making sure that this is everywhere I want it to be, and that everyone who would like to hear what I have to say has an opportunity to do that. So I'm going to be sharing this across my other social media platforms. And I will ultimately, when this is all said and done, upload this again onto YouTube so that those who aren't on Facebook but are on YouTube and have subscribed to my YouTube channel will have an opportunity to hear me speak. And so let me start off by thanking the thousands now of subscribers to my YouTube channel. When I started really expanding my speaking, if you will, and going to other social mediums, which kind of freaked me out, I had like 600 followers on YouTube that were following me. And today, as we speak, I'm over 3,200 subscribers on YouTube. And of course, I have to acknowledge my Now This interview, which was partially responsible for the uptick in activity across all of my social media platforms. I understand that Now This news really appeals to, is followed by, and watched by a lot of millennials. And so while they may not necessarily be full-time on Facebook, they do pay attention to Now This news. However, they pay attention to Now This news. And so I don't know if it's the millennials or if it's the old heads that have helped me increase my numbers, but I so appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you to those new subscribers. And I would also like to say, tell a friend, hashtag tell a friend about what we're talking about on Sergeant Dorsey Speaks on my podcast, which you can subscribe and listen to, as well as on YouTube. So right now, I am working feverishly to get this going on my other Facebook page, because many of you who've been with me since I started doing this have been doing it from my personal Facebook page, and so I'm now trying to transition everyone over to my public page, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. So bear with me. As you come on, say hello. If there's something that you want to address, please mention that, and we'll try to speak to that as well. One of the things that I wanted to talk about today was the whole thing that happened over the weekend. With newly hired Officer Timothy Loehmann, recently joined a police department. I think he's I don't know if it's a sheriff department or an actual municipality, a police department, but he was recently hired, and of course that caused me a lot of anxiety that this officer this is his third department now that he's been given the opportunity based on his gift of resignation. That's what I call it, when you allow a police officer to resign and not leave a trail of death and destruction that's really visible. He was able to get on with another police department. So I needed a few days to kind of just work this thing out and make sure that when I came to you to talk about it, that I was not as emotional as I was on the day when it first was announced. So as we get started and as I speak to you, I'm asking if you would be so kind as to share this feed live on your own timeline so that others can hear me as I speak. I'm going to try to acknowledge and address those of you who do come on when I can see you. I got a lot of stuff going on, y'all. Bear with me. I got the iPad working. I got the computer, the laptop working. I'm on my cell phone. So I'm doing, as my children would say, I'm doing a lot. I'm doing the most right now. But I'm going to try and do this one-man gang thing for you so that everybody has an opportunity to hear and see what we're talking about here. And I'd like to know how you feel about this situation with Timothy Loehmann is what we're going to start off talking about, is Timothy Loehmann being given an opportunity to get hired by another police department after having shot and killed 12-year-old Tamir Rice, for those of you who may not know. Okay, cool. Hey, Kim Williams, I'm able to see your comments now on my laptop, so don't mind me if I look away. I'm recording, as I said, on my iPad, so the quality of the camera is much better here, and you may know that it's hot. So my nose is running. Bear with me. And I'm going to be looking at your comments over on my laptop. So appreciate the thumbs up. Love it when you give me hearts. And we're going to talk a little bit about this second chance that police officers are given. And I titled my my Facebook Live segment today, Victims Don't Get Second Chances, but Cops Do. And it really rubs me raw to think that this hiring of Timothy Loehmann on his third police department, because understand this, Timothy Loehmann was working as a police officer on the Independence Police Department in Ohio. He had only been there a very short time when a deputy chief recognized that he had some issues, that his skill set was not suited for police work. And so this deputy chief, so concerned about young Timothy, that he called his parents and told them that I'm sending your baby home to you, and that he has some issues, and there's no amount of training, there's no amount of counseling that we can do here on the Independence Police Department that would ever bring him up to speed and get him to a place where he's fit for duty. And so because they were concerned and said that young Timothy was very weepy about the whole prospect of not being able to be the police, that they called him and said, you need to know he's coming home, and be careful when he gets there, because I'm not sure what he's going to do. This was the kind of message that this police chief, a deputy chief rather, on Independence was explaining to the family as they sent him a packing. Now, they didn't fire him. They gave him that gift that I refer to, the gift of resignation. So young Timothy was able to resign from Independence Police Department. And when he did that, he started applying like a crazy man all over the state of Ohio for other jobs. And he applied for places who, unlike Cleveland, Ohio, did their homework. And they said, no, this is not the place for you. They didn't give him a job. But Cleveland decided that Timothy Loehmann was just the kind of officer they wanted on their department, and so they hired him. And within a few months of being hired by Cleveland Police Department, we know what happened. He, within 2 seconds, shot and killed Tamir Rice because he thought this 12-year-old baby was a 20-year-old black man with a gun. Now, the deputy chief at Independence had warned everybody. He said, this guy, his gun skills are questionable. His mind is not right. Hey, Salima Jackson. I hope I'm saying your name right. Salima Jackson, all the way from the Caribbean. Hey, girl, what's up? I appreciate you. This is my Trinidad Tobago sister who had communicated to me about a week or so ago that she was watching and listening from Trinidad Tobago. And so, sister girl, welcome, welcome. Thank you for tuning in, and hashtag tell a friend. So back to Timothy. he was given the gift of resignation on independence, hired by Cleveland, and within a couple of months, he shot and killed Tamir Rice. Now, I don't know if they fired him or if they gave him another gift, allowed him to resign from Cleveland. I know that something happened in January of this year that I was able to find on the internet, that he's appealing whatever they did to him at Cleveland. If they fired him, he's appealing it. But in the process of him appealing it, he also has applied to a third department. And so this just goes to show you, which is going to kind of segue into my other story that I want to talk about, which dovetails on the whole Botham Jean thing and police chiefs, and how police chiefs, they do what the heck they want. This is their fiefdom. This is their kingdom. And what's different about white police chiefs and black police chiefs is that the white ones don't care. They don't care if the community is not happy with the decision that they made, a la hiring Timothy Loehmann, because that police chief said, well, there was no criminal charges against him, and that's true, there weren't. There were no criminal charges, so this police chief said he couldn't find any reason not to give young Timothy a second chance, but only this was really his third chance, because this is his third police department. And so police chiefs give errant officers opportunity after opportunity. They live to offend again, right? Much like Betty Shelby. I've talked about this before. She was given the gift of resignation from Tulsa, Oklahoma PD after she shot and killed Terrence Crutcher after a jury failed to find her guilty of any criminal negligence. She was allowed to go and work in a neighboring community on a sheriff's department as a reserve officer. Understand this. I believe it's like this across the nation. Reserve officers don't get paid. You come in and you do so many hours, for free or for a very nominal salary, but you get to say that you're the police. You get to say that you've been trained by that police department. You get to carry a gun, and 2 days out of the month, or whatever the requirement is as a reserve officer, you come in and you play police. So Betty Shelby was so eager to be the police again that she wanted to do it for free. Much like young Timothy, he's working part-time over there on this new police department. And in a minute, I'll be able to tell you the name of that police department. But the fact of the matter is that this guy is just Timothy, determined to be the police. Why does this guy want to be the police so bad? I'm looking for the names of the departments that he had worked at in Ohio. I know Akron is one that he applied to. He didn't get hired by Akron, but that's one of the departments that he applied to. And I just think the fact that he's applying all over town ought to raise flags for folks. These police chiefs, this is their fiefdom. This is their kingdom. They get to do what they want. And so, I'm going to play a little call and response thing, and I'm going to ask you guys, have you had enough? Are you tired of this foolishness? Have you had enough? And if you've had enough, then what are you going to do about it? So back to the difference between a white police chief and a black police chief, because remember, in Dallas, we have a black police chief, Renee Hall, who relinquished control of an investigation, a very important one, into the death of Botham Jean. She relinquished it to another police department, let them investigate it, because she didn't want, I don't know why she did it. I'm not in her head. I can't say, and I don't know if she's ever really said why she did it. I've heard that she was pressured to do it, but let's just say she did it. And so Renee Hall relinquishes control of the investigation of Botham Jean over to another agency. Why didn't she just hold on to it like these white police chiefs do and just really not give a damn what somebody thought about her not giving it up? Why not, I hate to even use this term, but stand your ground, Chief Hall. Why not stand your ground? Why not do what these white police chiefs do when they rehire Timothy Loehmann likes or Betty Shelby likes over and over and over, when they give them second chances that Tamir Rice didn't get, Terrence Crutcher didn't get a second chance, and I can go on, and you know the names. We've talked about them before. Bel Air Police Chief Richard Dick Flanagan, correct. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. Yeah, Bel Air Police in Ohio. Bel Air, Ohio is where Timothy Loehmann is now working part-time, because he wants to be an officer so bad that he's willing to do it part-time if they'll let him. And you know, another thing a white police chief did that I've never seen happen in the history of ever is when Betty Shelby was given that second chance, because they don't give a damn about what you and I think about it, because they didn't give a damn about the Terrence Crutcher family and what a kick in the gut this would be to them to know that this woman was on another police department. They did a public swearing in. It was televised. I have never, ever seen an officer be sworn in on television before. They didn't care about what we thought. They just did it because they could. And so when you see a black police chief who's afraid to do what they can and not give a damn, they don't. They don't. I heard, and we'll talk about this, that there was another annual meeting. The International Association of Police Chiefs had their yearly hoedown. And this is when all of the police chiefs go. So I'm assuming that probably Chief Renee Hall was there because all of the police chiefs go. This is their prom, and I would imagine, especially as a relatively new chief, if you haven't been before, and I don't know when she started on that department, if she started before or after their yearly soiree, but I would imagine that she was there. And to hear the person that presides over that, I don't know who the president is this year, but I know last year the president spoke, and I commented about his commentary on CNN because he made apologies for police officers wholesale who have done things that were not what we're always taught to do in black, brown, and poor white communities. And so he wanted to do a punctious pilot and make an apology. Maybe punctious pilot isn't the right word for it, but he wanted to apologize for the sins of all these officers. And he said he was apologizing, and I took issue with that because he was apologizing as if this stuff happened like back in the 1800s, and it doesn't happen anymore, but he's just now getting around to apologizing when we know that these kind of offenses happen every day. They happen all the time, real time. They were happening last year during their soiree, and they're happening right now today. O'Shea Terry, not too long ago, was shot and killed by a police officer for reasons that cannot be justified, in my opinion. And I heard a black female police chief who was at that meeting last year by the name of Jacqueline Seabrooks. I've met Jackie because we did a documentary together, and in the documentary, she talks about that president of the IACP saying that he apologized, and Jackie said that, we have to accept his apology because not to do that would be foolish of us on our part. Do we, Jackie? Do we have to accept his apology? And so how many Jackies were sitting in that meeting that just happened a few days ago where little Tink Tink was there and told everybody that they need to bring stop and frisk to Chicago? I wonder if any of those black chiefs that were there when he made that ridiculous suggestion stood up and spoke in opposition about why stop and frisk doesn't work. Why is it that black police chiefs, you guys breathe that special air, you're given the ability to make a difference, and yet you won't? You won't. And so I know why, because I know the people that breathe that special air don't talk like I do. Because when you talk like me, they make sure you don't promote above the rank of sergeant. Unless you do really, really well and your numbers are high enough on a written test and an oral interview that and you got enough seniority points that you can promote to something higher than a sergeant or a lieutenant. But by the time you get to captain, commander, deputy chief, and I'm talking about LAPD because that's what I know, it's a wrap. I talk about it in my autobiography. I did a whole chapter to those folks that breathe that special air. called House Negroes. Check it out. Yeah, I did a whole chapter on them because you only get to breathe that special air. You only promote on the LAPD like that if you're willing to go along to get along. If you're willing to speak, companies speak. If you're willing to not question, if you're willing to hang on to a murder investigation that happened on your watch and not relinquish control of it to another agency, you got to be willing to do that to make deputy chief, to make commander, to make chief. You got to be willing when there is, and understand when I say this because some folks going to get it wrong, so be clear about what I'm saying. That young officer, that young black man, Micah Johnson in Dallas a few years ago, who shot and killed 5 Dallas police officers, I don't condone that. Do not support that. But we have a judicial system that says he should have been taken into custody, and however long it takes you to do that, you do. They don't have any problem. White police chiefs take all day if they need to on a barricaded suspect. Didn't they just take a man into custody the other day? They did it in hours. The white guy who shot up some folks was taken into custody without incident, air quote, without incident. So you have a black police chief before Renee Hall, Chief David Brown, y'all know who I'm talking about out there in Dallas, who sends a robot with a bomb into the place where Michael Johnson was secreted and holed up and blew him up. Because he could. Because he could. He didn't wait hours. He didn't negotiate. He was so hot because Michael Johnson allegedly was taunting the Dallas Police Department, and I guess him particularly, taunting the Dallas Police Department about what he had done and the 5 officers that he shot and killed. And listen, it was emotional. I get that. I'm a cop. Be clear. I don't condone it. But black police chief, you send a bomb on a robot and blow this man up? Who does that? Oh, I know. Black police chiefs do that. Yeah. That's the one time when a black police chief wasn't worried. He didn't give a damn about what anybody thought about his decision to send a robot with a bomb strapped to it to blow up a black man. He said he'd do it again. If given the chance, he'd do it again. And so now we have Chief Renee Hall, who's a little timid seeming to me, and a little tepid in her responses to white folks out there. And so she doesn't want to be accused of, thought badly of, whatever. I've seen this happen time and time again during my career on the LAPD. I've seen black folks on the LAPD who were in a position to do something to help other black folks and won't because they don't want anybody to think anything. I had a very dear friend, allegedly, of my family, my parents, very dear friend, who was a lieutenant when I joined LAPD as a young police officer. And this lieutenant was working in a specialized unit that I wanted to work in. And so I thought, wow, this is great because I know somebody who's very close to my family. And he's a lieutenant on the LAPD. My parents used to always brag about him. Before I even became a police officer, I wasn't thinking about that. But when I did become one, I thought, well, shoot, let me go ahead and get some love based on, you know, my dad, right? You're at my house. Your wife and my mom are buds. So when I go to interview for this position, for this specialized assignment, this black lieutenant told me, oh, by the way, I was supposed to be on the oral board cadre. I was going to be one of the people giving orals. But when I saw your name, I took myself off. Well, Lieutenant, why would you do that? And what he said to me was because he didn't want there to be any impression that maybe somehow he had given me some love because he's black and I'm black and, you know, nobody knew he knew my parents. I knew it. But I mean, dude, you're a lieutenant. What the what? What the what? White folks don't worry about that. They don't have no concern about who know who, how long I've known you. If we live together, if we go to the river together, because you guys on the department, y'all know white police officers go to the river a lot, right? So if we go to the river together and we hang out and we drink every other Wednesday because it's payday and you know me and I know you and I got an opening in my unit and you want to come on over. White people don't worry about that on the police department. Only black folks who are in a position to do something. And so I take issue with black police chiefs who can't seem to find their spine, or black deputy chiefs, assistant chiefs, commanders. Yeah, we got some of those on the LAPD. We got some of those who've been on the job for a long time and who breathe that special air, and who, when they get these promotions, they make a big deal about it, a big public spectacle. I talked about it on one of my podcasts. You can check it out. But, you know, for the blacks on the LAPD who breathe that special air, I don't understand how is it that right now LAPD is predominantly Hispanic. How come it ain't no blacks on the LAPD? Black deputy chief, black commanders. How come you guys aren't doing your part to make sure that people that look like you and I are getting recruited? You are mentoring to them. You are making sure that they make it through the police academy and then make it off probation. How is it that black folks, when they get in a position of authority, and listen, I promise you this is not unique to LAPD. I bet you there's some of you out there right now who work wherever you work, and you could just probably, you know, discreetly or however you see fit to do it, just type in that, you know, hashtag not unique to LAPD, right? That this happens on your job. If you work in a hospital and there's some black folks who are in a position of authority but won't do nothing to help other black folks. This is not unique to LAPD. Sometimes we can be the scariest folks around, and I just don't get it. I don't get it. So, you know, Timothy Loehmann, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. Because listen, his dad even said when he left Independence, well, he lied and said that he left Independence PD because he wanted to go where there was a little more action. Now, for my civilian friends, action translates to, I want to go where black and brown folks and poor white folks live, because in those communities, I can cut up. And in those communities, when people complain, if they bother to complain at all, it will be swept under the rug. I want to go where there's action. And so that's what Timothy Loehmann said he wanted. He wanted to go to a busier department. Little old Independence wasn't busy enough. Thankfully for the people that live in that community, that deputy chief saved some lives over there. So he sends them over to Cleveland, and guess what? Tamir Rice, 12-year-old kid playing in the park, not given a second chance. Two seconds, Timothy Loehmann shoots and kills him. And now he has an opportunity to do that very same thing again. I understand that Bel Air, Ohio is kind of a rural town, and probably ain't a whole bunch of people that live in Bel Air that look like me, but my concern is that he will venture out, because there's no guard fence around Bel Air that keeps him from venturing out and finding people who do look like me in surrounding communities that now he wants to mess with when he's there part-time working. And we know that that happens because that's exactly how Sam DuBose was killed. He was killed by a white officer who worked on a university campus police department, and I guess he got tired of putting labels on college books or something and decided to come out, leave the college campus, come out onto the city streets, and saw a Negro driving a car that didn't have a front plate. So he stopped him. And we know how that ended. So I'm just wondering now, do we have to wait for little Timothy with his weepy little self, with his poor gun handling skills? Do we have to wait for him to kill somebody else? Let me tell you something. If you guys are bothered about this, if you've had enough, hashtag I've had enough. But don't just do that, because know this, and I don't know how many of you on Facebook or on Twitter, but every police department has a Twitter account. And sometimes it's to the police department, and sometimes it's in the name of the police chief. So when these things happen and you feel some kind of way about it, then you need to go and you need to make your voices be known, be heard. Sign up and get a doggone Twitter account and just use a silhouette. Call yourself Grapefruit or whatever. And tweet to that police department, to that police chief, and let them know that Timothy Loehmann has no business working part-time even on the Bel Air Police Department. Now, I don't know if it's going to make any difference. I've been told, someone reached out to me and said that Bel Air Police Department in Ohio is kind of a place for misfit toys. That's where they all go, allegedly. I don't know. I don't know. But this is the place where the misfits go. And so it may not just be little Timothy. It may be a whole department full of them. And when little Timothy partners up with another one just like him, and they decide to venture out of Bel Air because he's looking for a little action, and they stop a black man or a black child, do we have to wait? Do we have to wait? Bel Air Police Department has a Facebook page. Most of them do. And when I talk about these things on my Facebook page, and I name names, because I like to do that, because most of these public entities are publicity averse, and so they don't like it, when you name names. They don't like it when you go on Twitter, so everybody can see as you tweet their business name, their department name, and you express whatever it is that you want to say in opposition to what action they've done or what action they failed to do. They don't like it. And so when you do that, either on Facebook or on Twitter, tag that department, name that police chief, name that police chief, name that police officer who just did a thing that should never have happened. Barkus says, stay out of Bel Air, Ohio if you black. Okay, I don't know, Barkus. Do you live near Bel Air? You know something I don't know? I don't live in Ohio. I'm in California, so I mean, but if it's a place where the misfit toys go, then that sounds right. You could stay out of Bel Air, but listen, what happens when Timothy gets in his little patrol car and starts driving around those areas that border Bel Air? What happens then? Because that's what Ray Tenzing did. And yeah, they said, he shouldn't have left the campus, but the damage was done. Sam DuBose was dead. It was a done deal. Okay, I'm back with you. I see I had a little Wi-Fi situation jump off. Whenever these things happen, go on Twitter, because I've voiced complaints not only about police on Twitter. If I go to a restaurant and the service is not good, I'm on Twitter. I've gotten gift cards for all kinds of sums of money to go and talk about service that I didn't appreciate on Twitter. Restaurants don't like it. Police departments don't like it. So don't just get on my Facebook page and fuss. Actually, put them on blast. Put them on blast. Oh, somebody said the population density for Bel Air is 88% higher than Ohio. The medium range in Bel Air is 2% higher. Okay, so I don't know what that population. I see you saying that the density is 884% higher than Ohio, but what's the breakdown of the ethnicity? And this, I'm talking to my my manager right now, Charles Harper, who's doing an amazing job for me. Thanks, Charles, for pumping out those numbers, dude. You are a beast, and I appreciate you. Yeah, don't let them operate in a vacuum. I'm real big on, if you mess with me, I'm going public. I blog about stuff, and I talked about some things that I'll probably get into here again about the Los Angeles Unified School District, because I want everybody to know about the Los Angeles Unified School District and how awful they were to me, how terribly I was treated by the Los Angeles Unified School District when it was being commanded by a black woman, Michelle King. I tell you, black people in positions of power, black people who breathe that special air, boy, they are a special breed. But if you do some mess to me, trust and believe me, you are not going to operate in a vacuum. And so I talk a little bit about it, and I like to name Michelle King, and Some of the other higher ups there, David Holmquist, who is the general counsel, the attorney for the school district. Dave Holmquist. The inspector general for the Los Angeles Unified School District, who was shown the door at the end of his contract, Kenneth Bramlett. Google those names. I've blogged about them, and I want to make sure that everybody knows how special they are. Frank J. Kabibi, Deputy Inspector General, Los Angeles Unified School District, Office of the Inspector General, the watchdog office for the LAUSD, the second largest school district in the nation. Yeah, they tried to make me roadkill. Well, they did make me roadkill, but I'm just not being quiet about it. And so I talk about it when I can. I talk about it in blogs. I talk about it on my podcast. I'm talking about it here. And oh, LAUSD, because I know you're watching. I know you guys monitor my social media because I found out in discovery as part of my litigation. You see, they had 36 different people assigned to go after me. 36 people were given the task of finding a reason, any reason. You come up with something so we can fire her. And so I'm in the midst of litigation, so there's not a whole lot that I can say about that. We'll go to court in February 2019, but between now and then I'll be talking about it. And then shortly thereafter, I've written a third book, which I will publish, LAUSD, but not until after my trial, not until after my wrongful termination, racial discrimination, harassment, retaliation lawsuit, and it's called Black and Blue, the creation of a whistleblower. And so I talk about in my book, the creation of a whistleblower. Kind of what I'm doing here is educating you and telling you what to do when someone comes after you, whether it's the police who come after you and looking to do you harm, or whether it's an employer who comes after you and are looking to do you harm. And harm can sometimes just mean take away your ability to earn an income, like the LAUSD did with me, fired me. But you know what's special about that is that there's 3 people who were really spearheading that whole movement. And when you Google Frank Kabibi, Kenneth Bramlett, and Jorge Urijo, Urquijo, Urquijo. When you Google them and see what I wrote about them, I call them the unholy trinity because I like to give people names. Sometimes things just come to me, and so I give people names, and I call them the unholy trinity. But right now, as we speak, 2 of the unholy trinity have been shown the door by the Los Angeles Unified School District because they understand that what they did to me was wrong, and they understand that I'm not sitting still for it, and they kind of blame 2 of the 3, Frank J. Kabibi and Kenneth Bramlett. They kind of blamed them probably for the angst that they're having and the hell that I'm raising and the attention that I'm bringing to the Los Angeles Unified School District. So they have been shown the door. Jorge Urijo is still there. He's still there. But I would imagine his days are numbered as well. We were supposed to go to court, and I'm subject hopping, so just let me, I'm on a riff right now. We were supposed to go to court September the 4th, and then Jorge, he got ill, you guys. He went off on FMLA, which is long-term family illness for the school district. So my case got continued until February. So my hope is, and please pray with me, that Jorge will get well, and he'll be back to work and healthy in February when this thing goes to trial, and he's not going to be able to get out of it. You're going to have to go ahead and man up, Jorge. And you're going to have to come and tell everybody, because this will be public record. This will be public record. You're going to have to tell a jury and everybody else who listens in that courtroom why it is that you were the club that Frank Kabibi used to beat me over the head. But I digressed. Let me get back to my scheduled talking points, if you will. If you've had enough, go public. The Creation of a Whistleblower is my book, and it'll be coming out, and it will tell you what to do and what to expect. And for those of you who are concerned about my safety, I appreciate you. I appreciate your concern, and know this, I'm a believer, and I got prayed up when I started speaking like I do back in 2013 because I knew LAPD was not going to be happy about what I was going to be saying and the kinds of things that I was going to be exposing, and so I will not be deterred. Now, I'm careful as best I can. I'm prayed up, so I'm believing. And I got my little henchmen that, follow me around too. You guys know who you are, and I appreciate you. But I'm not going to not speak. I'm not going to be quiet. I understand now that, everything that I went through in my 20 years on the LAPD, and all 20 wasn't bad, but the things that I went through, God knew that I would be here today. I was chosen for such a time as this. He knew that this was coming, and He was preparing me so that I could speak the way that I do about the things that I speak about. Because when I talk about police issues, I'm not telling you something that I read in a book or in a newspaper. I'm not spouting off stats that somebody handed me before I decided to speak. I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I lived. And so when I tell you what I know, I'm not really even looking for concurrence. I don't even really care if you agree. You guys have seen me say this on my Facebook page when the Twitter mites and others come after me, that your agreement is not required. I'm just telling you what I know. And so you give what I share with you whatever import you think it deserves. I'm just telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I know about police culture. And while I'm telling you about my experiences on the LAPD, what I experienced on the LAPD is not unique to LAPD. This foolishness goes on all over town. This goes on all over in various police departments, in sheriff departments, in everywhere. And you've got examples of it. And so you know what I'm talking about. You know I'm not making this stuff up, and I'm not just pulling it out of my nether regions. I know what I'm talking about. I was a patrol officer. I was a street cop. I was a patrol supervisor. And I'm proud to say that I spent 20 years in a uniform, so I know the culture. I know foolishness when I see it. I know code speak when I hear it. And so that's why I speak the way that I do. I don't speak the way that I do because I want someone to agree with me. I really do this because my hope is that somebody will know somebody, a family member, who will say, I heard this female police officer say this. Maybe you should tell your attorney. Family of Botham Jean. Maybe you should tell your attorney that Amber Geiger might have been working off duty in that apartment complex wearing her uniform when she was really playing the part of a security guard. But y'all didn't know that because y'all don't know police do that. But that's what police do. So maybe somebody will tell that family that's representing Botham Jean. Maybe somebody will tell the family of O'Shea Terry that when you have an opportunity to ask this question, ask this. And while we're talking about asking questions, because I get people who've been coming at me on YouTube about police officers and why don't the good ones say something. I said this the other day in my TMZ interview when they asked me that. The gentleman asked me, well, why don't, the good cops say something? Why do they wait till they retire? Well, listen, I didn't wait till I retired to say something. Everything started happening after I retired. They gave me an opportunity to speak the way that I do. Listen, I retired in 2000, y'all. I didn't just retire. I've been at this for a minute. I'm blessed that I was able to work on that job, retired very, very young, and now I have almost been retired as long as I was on the job. So I am blessed to be able to say that. And so I started speaking out because I wanted to give the words to the families to say. The next time somebody shoved a microphone in front of them from some news station and says, well, if you could say something to the police, what would you say? They don't know. All they know is they lost a loved one and they're hurting. And so I give you the words to say. And if you find it helpful, then say it. Then ask these questions. And so why don't the good cops talk? Because listen, you guys can say what you want. Nobody is going to risk their ability to take care of their family. Nobody. And police chiefs know that because every police chief was once a police officer. And so if police chiefs, put the onus on them to have a situation where police officers who are doing the right thing, and you pretend, chief, that you don't like the fact that they're selling your department, the bad cops. If you really don't like that, then create an environment where whistleblower protection really exists. Thus my book, The Creation of a Whistleblower, because there's no such thing as whistleblower protection. I filed a sexual harassment complaint against a command officer when I was on the LAPD, and I was 2 miles away from my division in the so-called safe space. And before I could drive back to my division, they already knew. They already knew, and they were waiting on me. But see, I was born at night, but just not last night. So when I went and told, the first thing that I said to them after I told in that safe place, because I knew that there was no such thing as safe, but I said, I want to be administratively transferred out of this division where this commanding officer is sexually harassing me. And I'm telling you, he's sexually harassing me. So when I go back, I know it's going to be a problem. So I want to be administratively transferred, not now, but right now. And sure enough, by the time I got back to my division, the command staff, they already knew. They already knew that I had told. So there's no place for officers to tell. There's no place. And so some people, some officers are not willing to run the risk of being ostracized. Some officers are not willing to run the risk of being hurt, of having their safety jeopardized. Because listen, when you're out there in a uniform and you get on that radio, and my LAPD family who on here, y'all know what's up. You get on the radio and you ask for backup. Wait and see what happens. Officer needs assistance. Those folks that you told on, yeah, they'll just look at each other and say, he'll be all right, or, you know, we'll get there, we'll go, but we're going to make sure we stop at all the stop signs. We're not going to run any red lights. We're going to drive safely, because that's what the department teaches us to do. And who can judge me or be critical of me for obeying traffic laws as I go to this officer needs assistance call? Listen, you say what you want. Nobody's going to jeopardize that. If you have finally got a job where you're working Monday through Friday with the weekends off, kind of a banker's kind of hours job, nobody's going to jeopardize that to go back to have to work morning watch, because that's where you've been transferred. Because the watch commander said it's a deployment situation. It's nothing personal. It's just deployment. We need more officers working graveyard. So yeah, I know you like working at 6 in the morning and getting off at 2. But we're about to change your schedule. Ain't nothing you can do about that. And police chiefs know that. So if police chiefs really wanted to do something different, if they wanted to create an environment where officers could really report those officers who are causing millions of dollars to be paid to families, they could do that. Just like they can give an officer a job who's killed a 12-year-old child. Just like they can give an officer a job who shot a man in the back as he walked away from her. Police chiefs can do what they want. So the next time somebody want to ask, well, why don't the good officers tell? Here's what you do. Go ask a police chief. The next time there's some kind of a town hall meeting, or police chief is pretending like he really cares about what you think, why don't you go and ask him, sir, do you have whistleblower protection for your officers? Is there some place where a good police officer can go and tell and be safe and not have to worry about backup not coming when he asks because a citizen has handed him or her their ass and responding units aren't coming? Can you make sure that that officer is safe, chief? Ask them. I'm going to, going forward, start talking a little bit more, because I had officers reach out to me, and I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate you reaching out to me. I've had officers who've lost their jobs because they were good cops and because they told. I have a young man right now, and I can't really talk about his situation much because he's in the midst of litigation, and he does not want anything said publicly that might jeopardize his situation. But I'll just give you the Reader's Digest version real quick. It's a black guy, and he's a state trooper. And he went and told because something happened untoward, told on another officer. And a white supervisor came to him and said, you know what, on this department, in this town, you might not want to do that. That's not a good idea. But he was so strong in his conviction that he decided he really did need to make someone aware of this. They put a banana in his tailpipe on his police car. And he was warned by this white supervisor who said, you know, that could happen. Stuff could come up in your locker room. In LAPD, y'all know what I'm talking about. They put chickens and stuff in your locker and close it up. Or other things in the locker room. Things are said in roll call. I've had that happen to me. I worked with a female partner. And during roll call, they would call the name, like 1 Adam 12, Johnson and Rigby, 1 Adam 22, Smith and Jones. And then when they got to our unit, they just called us the tuna clipper because it was another female. I was working with a female partner. They referred to us as the tuna clipper because they thought it was cute and funny. This was a sergeant, the watch commander, in roll call with a bunch of men. It was just me and my female partner, and they call us the tuna clipper. And what could we say? Yeah, that was kind of Brett Kavanaugh kind of stuff where you just got to turtle up. You just got to take it. You can't say nothing because what's wrong with you? Because you want to make sure when you get on that radio and ask for backup that it comes. Because you want to make sure that they don't play games with you and send you on a radio call where they know some stuff is about to go down because they know the neighborhood or they know the family and they know the history. And they know that when you go to this house, this family always fights with the police. Yeah, when you go there, you don't want to go by yourself. Because those are the kinds of games that they play because police chiefs don't create an environment for officers to tell, good officers to tell on bad officers. So that's why. So, now, we've talked a little bit about black chiefs versus white chiefs. We've talked about Bel Air Police giving Timothy Loehmann the gift of resignation. Please, please, please email, tweet, contact them on Facebook and express your displeasure. When you have an opportunity, subscribe to my podcast, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks, on the platform of your choice, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, iTunes, Google Podcasts. You can find me on Alexa and Sonos wireless speakers. You can visit my website, and some of you have, and I appreciate that, who want a copy of my book, Black and Blue, The Creation of a Social Advocate. If you go to my website, you can purchase it there. Be sure to leave a mailing address when you fill out all of the cart information. Give me your mailing address, and I will send you an autographed copy. If you are not interested in an autographed copy, then you can certainly purchase my book through Amazon, Black and Blue, The Creation of a Social Advocate. Tell a friend, hashtag tell a friend. We're going to do this every Wednesday, and we'll do it, if something up, jumps off like Timothy Loehmann. That happened over the weekend, and it was too fresh. I couldn't really come and talk to you about that. But what I want to do, if you just bear with me for a minute, I just want to thank some folks who have been interacting with me. I really, really value the fact that you share with me your own angst, your own trials and tribulations, your whatever you may be going through in terms of police community and what to do. I appreciate that. And so on Facebook, I've had some folks reach out to me, and actually I didn't even know this was a thing you could do on Facebook, but I've had people make a recommendation on Facebook for Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. And so if you feel strongly and see value in what I say, do a recommendation. Cynthia Miles, Donald Collins, Kim Williams, Dwight Sawyer. I appreciate the fact that you took the time to recommend Sergeant Dorsey Speaks and say what you had to say about what it is that I do. I appreciate that. And on YouTube, because you guys will have an opportunity while not on Facebook, Kenneth Tyner, D-Boss, Smooth 1971, Anita Harrell, The Watchers, Aaron Roberts, We Watchin', Thurston Tyler. I appreciate you having banter with me on YouTube. I have, I've had some spirited conversations on YouTube. You guys are a rowdy crowd. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. We're not going to always agree, right? We're not going to always agree. And I'm going to say some things that might rub you the wrong way. And it's okay. It's okay, because remember, I'm not looking for concurrence. I'm just telling you what I know to be true based on my lived experience, based on what I know about police culture. And so I tell you what I tell you, so that you can make an informed decision going forward about what you want to do the next time the police stop you, or what you want to tell a loved one to do when the police stops them. That's all. And so before I go, I want to also just take a second to acknowledge Blythe Whitaker, Get Global Network. That is the driving force behind my podcast. They do an amazing job with making sure every Tuesday you've got fresh content to listen to in the event that you are not on Facebook, or you aren't on Facebook at the times when I go live. Get Global Network is pulling all of my live audio and making it into a podcast. And so you have an opportunity to hear what I'm saying on the go. For police officers, if any of you are out there and you're going through a situation, I'm going to really spend a little time thinking about how to shed light on what it is that you may be experiencing. I know some officers who have lost their job. You'll see me. Who lost her job because she was working with a white partner who hit a handcuffed prisoner, and she said something about it, and the partner immediately turned to her, hit her in the face, I think broke her nose, and they put her up on charges and they fired her. I think she had 19 years on the job, fired her before she could get her pension. This was about 8 years ago, and Carrie L. Holloman Horn is still fighting to try to get her pension. So there are a lot of good police officers who've been put in harm's way, who have been made roadkill because they spoke out. And so when you guys make me aware of your story, when you share with me the circumstances of what happened on your particular police department, I will come here and speak about it if you give me permission to do that, so that others can hear and know. People think, that there aren't a whole bunch of police officers out there talking the way that I do, but they are. 100 blacks in law enforcement who care from NYPD, they're out there. I haven't met these brothers, but I understand there's a new group in NYPD called the New York 19 or the New York 12, something like that. They have expressed opposition to this whole quota system. And so some of them are now in jeopardy. Some of them have been denied promotions because of the fact that they've been so outspoken. And so if I hear about a story and you're okay with me sharing it, if you're okay with me naming you and your department and what you're going through, I will do that. I'm lucky and blessed to have this platform and have people who come and listen to me on a regular basis. And so I will speak to these things going forward and try to shed light on what the good officers are going through for being good officers. So let's fix this together, right? Hashtag let's fix this together. Let's not allow them to operate in a vacuum. And I think we've already talked about the whole Rogers Park and stop and frisk, and I don't know if I did or not, but stop and frisk is stupid, right? And Rogers Park is 42% white, and they're not having any of that. But this president, every time he gets an opportunity to use an incident that's involving a black person, he comes up with this ridiculous notion that somehow Jeff Sessions, Granny, you guys know I call him Granny because he looked like Granny from the Beverly Hillbillies, right? So yeah, little Tink Tink and Granny want to bring in stop and frisk and just start running roughshod over black, brown, and poor white people. Stop and frisk is unconstitutional. It's been proven. People have a right to not be subjected to unreasonable stop and searches. Seizure and searches, right? That's what it is. Stop and frisk you. And to leave it to the hands of what's reasonable in the mind of one officer is problematic. So when things like that come up and I want to talk about it, I want to share something with you. I want to put some stuff out there so that you can ask the right question based on what you hear me say, based on what I know about police culture, because I did it, because I saw it. Then I will come on and I'll give you those words. So ask your police chief, your sheriff, what are they doing to create a safe zone for good police officers? What are they doing to create an environment where it's safe for good police officers to report bad police officers, so you don't run into a situation like this young man, this state trooper that I mentioned very briefly to you, who has now for 3 years been unemployed. Now, they didn't fire him, they just sent him home. So he's been home fighting. He has a family. His wife is trying to hold down this family while he fights for his job, because he complained because a white police officer put a banana in the tailpipe of his car. And a white supervisor told him, you should probably not say nothing. And when he did say something, initially what happened is that IA did an investigation and they said, yeah, we're going to unfound this, because what you guys have accused him of, the misconduct you accused him of, he really was not engaged in any misconduct. And then I'm told that the police department, the state trooper agency, appealed internal affairs. They said, wait a minute. I thought you were part of us, IA. We need you to redo this investigation. So IA opened up a new investigation on this young officer, young black officer. He'd been on the job a couple of years. And this time, all of the officers who worked with him, their story changed. And their story changed so that they were able to craft a scenario where they could bring him up on criminal charges. Now, you know, you don't have to really have committed a crime. Y'all know this, right? You don't have to commit a crime to really be arrested for one and charged with it. You get that, right? You don't have to really have committed a crime to have to go hire an attorney. You know how expensive attorneys are? Funny, because when my cell phone rings, which is an iPhone, it pops up on my iPad. But anyway, you know, you don't have to be really have committed a crime to have to go through the financial burden and expense of trying to fight the accusation. So this young man has no job, has not worked for 3 years, and has been fighting now these false criminal charges, which I'm told his attorney thinks they will prevail, they'll win. But this has been 3 years. Could you imagine not working your job for 3 years? How many paychecks could you miss before your back is broken? This is what happens to good officers who tell. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys. And in parting, I want to thank you for stopping by and listening. I want to thank my manager, my new BFF, Charles Harper, over at Coalesce Consultants, Inc. Dude, I see you. You are handling your business tonight. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of the things that you are doing behind the scenes for me as I come to everyone weekly. So thank you, Charles Harper. Thank you, Blythe Whitaker. And thank you, Facebook. Thank you, YouTube, for wanting to know what a sister girl got to say, right? Because I got stuff to say about everything. So I appreciate you. Subscribe, tell a friend, and when you come back next week, make sure you go live, share it on your timeline. And I'm at 5,000 right now on Facebook, so I can't take any more friends, but you could certainly follow me on Facebook. You can certainly follow Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. You can follow Retired Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey, my second public page on Facebook. I'm at capacity on my private page. But I appreciate you. And ladies, listen, guys, I know I know you guys think I'm cute, and so do I. So I appreciate you, being nice and kind and saying all the little foo-foo stuff that you say to me. But I wanna say something to the sisters, because I appreciate you as well. I appreciate you standing with me. I appreciate you praying for me. And so let's fix this together, right? So until next time, follow me on social media, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. Go to my website, www.sergeantcheryldorsey. Follow me on YouTube, Subscribe to me on YouTube, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. Come back here, visit with me on Facebook. And until next time, be good and be safe.